When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am God Almighty. Walk before me and be blameless, that I may make my covenant between me and you, and may multiply you greatly. Then Abram fell on his face, and God said to him, said to him, said to him, said to him.
Since the creation of the world, mankind has believed in divine beings, human nature, or the explanation of the life and the universe. Religion has become more than a belief, has become a lifestyle. Such has happened with Judaism.
So I am in Ñuñoa to meet with Monica Preye, a Jewish woman. She's going to tell about their religion and the cultural view about Judaism.
Now, if you look at Jewish history, you've got religious Judaism, of course, the one we all have. And like Judaism, you see, like in the sense that in your consciousness there's a cultural belonging, and that's how I feel and what I have. It's probable that it has this religious background. It's probable, but throughout the years, centuries, Judaism has obviously turned into a cultural thing, more than just a religious formal thing. So I'm not just Jewish, not religious. I feel very Jewish culturally, you see? So the other day, a friend of mine asked me about the Ten Commandments, and he said, well, you took some of them. And I told him, yes, I took some. You shall not murder, you shall not steal. So there are a lot of things, you see, not everything, of course, but to me, what I feel about that is that there's a kind of humanism that it is very strong from a cultural point of view. You see, for some it is religion, but for me it is culture. I don't have any participation in, say, a Jewish congregation or something. I only go to a synagogue for Yom Kippur Day, because there's a part for remembering our deceased, the ones of our family who have passed away. I only go to the synagogue because it is part of my culture. I don't feel it has a religious connotation, but I do it anyway. Like when we light up candles on Fridays, I do it in memory of my brother. I was raised in an environment where everything was so multicultural. There was a lot of difference between my best friends on high school. They came over to my house, so we studied together, and they had Italian names, the three of them, and I was Jewish Argentinian, you see. What defines a culture are elements like costumes, language, music, dances, among others. Religion can be a very important part of a culture because most of these elements are components of a religion too. In the case of Judaism, it encases all of what was mentioned before. However, as there are people who live their lives and religion and follow every rule of it, there's people who are much more flexible and take religion to another level. Our interviewee, Monica, has a very personal perception of Judaism. She has a vision that transcends a religious perspective because she regards her religion as something that is entirely hers. And this is reflected in her practice of the religion. An example of this is when she told us that she lights up candles in memory of her brother who passed away some time ago. Nowadays, Judaism and a lot of religions are regarded much more as a culture than a framework for life, because people have a less restrained perception of reality. So it is hard for them to keep living under those rules. That's why you have people who give less importance to religion and just take some part of it, like holidays or the core beliefs of it, not just the moral implications or regulations of it. For her, Judaism is more than just a religion. It is who she is. It is her history, her roots, and her descendants. And it is like that for a lot of people too.
The Jews, unlike other religious communities, look and act calm and collected. They have a clear definition and attitude of righteousness and esteem. They are the most likely to have an interesting and peaceful conversation with. That is because of their focus on intellectuality instead of passion. These qualities were evident to us when we received an important visit.
Well, my name is Moshe Najimovsky. I am the Rabbi of the Chilean Jewish community, or the Rabbi of Chile, or whatever you call it.
We got the chance to meet and discuss with the Rabbi of the Chilean Jewish community right here at our university. He began talking about the Torah, which explains the history of the Jewish people. This history began with the year of the creation, the year number 1, and 2,000 years later, the first Jew of humanity was born by the name of Abraham. And what many people tend to believe is the year 2015 after Christ, is the year 5776 after the creation.
In the moment that Abraham, the first Hebrew, the first Israelite, the first Jew arrived, God promises the land to him and makes a pact with him and the many generations that will follow to keep this land and to circumcise 8 days after their birth. That is our main tradition.
There are many elements that separate the Jewish from the Christians. Not only the tough critic that the New Testament does to the Jewish, but also the fact that the Jewish still wait for the arrival of the Messiah, that is not Jesus Christ.
The redemption itself hasn't begun just yet. The event when a Jew by the name of Messiah, the Redeemer, that is the pronoun which we use the most to refer to him, the Redeemer who will save us all.
When we talk about books like the Bible or the Quran, people can translate it and read it in many languages as they please. But when you talk about the Torah, the Jewish people are so devoted and faithful to their community and identity that they do not read or write the Torah in any other language that isn't the Hebrew language. That is their only choice.
We, the Jewish, have our own language. When somebody goes and translates it into another, we consider it truly meaningless. We read the Torah in the main language, which contains all the laws and principles that we have to follow.
The Jews have 620 commandments they have to follow in order to fulfill the promise with God. In the appearance they have to wear clothes covering their limbs, and in the case of the women, they have to use a wig when they are married. A Jewish person has to wear a kind of hat called kippah in all the moments of their lives. This portrays the existence of a superior God.
This is basically a crown. We have a pact with the Maker of the world, who exists and gives life to the world all the time. His existence sustains the world and lights up the sun, the moon, and the stars. If he has a pact with us, we always use this to be recognized. In other words, to be chosen.
The most valuable element of technology the Jewish people use is the communicational devices they use in order to communicate among worldwide. From this point of view, the Jewish people is not against the technology when it's used for good purposes.
All that is part of the world has been made by the Creator, and it's up to us in our freedom to use it all the best way possible. All that is science and all that is technology. Plus, God feels happy for us to do so. So why them, a community so splendid, became a minority and a target of discrimination? It all began with the arrival of Jesus, who clearly criticized their way of living life and worshipping the laws of Moses rather than God. Jesus drew the line between those that consider him his Savior and those that do not. Since then, their misfortune has been plentiful. They were victims of the Inquisition, an organization that imposed violence for the will of Christianity. And they became a scarred nation because of the genocide caused by the Nazis, which blamed them for their crisis at Germany. But how did they get to recover from these scars? Better yet, how do they fit in today's society after the controversy they've caused and felt?
Through this documentary, we have expanded our incomplete knowledge about Judaism. Their cosmovision had its influence and impact in many societies, thanks to the intellectual contribution built by knowledge and traditions. Juan Opaso, who has a similar appreciation, can help us to conclude about the role of this particular religion.
Let's start with a premise. Generally, people used to think that as the former regime fell, science and technique were developed and progress came, and also as the Western societies and then the rest of the world became more rational and secular. In my opinion, they only think that religion lost weight in the framework of society and its articulation. I think that these days, even in the first world countries, religion keeps being relevant, not only for a social linking, but as a way for people for asking themselves or found effective sense. From my point of view, Jewish community have an important role from the perspective of intellectuality, art, and thinking production. For example, there's many Jew college teachers and poets who don't regret their fate and makes an outstanding contribution to our children's society and the formation of our students. I can't remember a particular name right now, but it would be too specific. I wouldn't generalize, saying that Jewish community is related just with economic interests or privileged groups. Even though those relations exist, Their importance goes beyond elites or specific groups.
Out of all the Earth's population, only 0.2% of it are Jews. That is an extremely discouraging percentage, and it's not difficult to see why. This religion has been labeled as outdated one too many times, overshadowed against the Christian and Muslim communities, which worship an extension so vast of the Torah, it can easily be labeled as its own story. But even if the future of the Jewish community seems bleak, their history and memory says too much for themselves to give up just yet. The dedication for their religion has remained strong during more than three millenniums. There are so many meaningful traditions which they can't afford to lose.
Since the dawn of humanity and through all these years, religion has answered the question of people and provide a way to understanding the world. That's why religion also have a major influence in the societies and their conformation, because they also provide a guidelines to people to be good as possible. In the case of Judaism, religion has preserved traditions through time, which also represent to huge people who don't follow the religion to the letter. Every person has a different perception of religion, and Judaism is not the exception. Because while there are people who are very devoted to their religion, there are other kind of people who practice their religion and take it more personal, modifying it according to their own experience. This is an example, Monica prayer.
Behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be the father of a multitude of nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for I have made you the father of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make you into nations, and kings shall come from you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you throughout their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be God to you and to your offspring after you. And I will give to you and to your offspring after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God.
Gadol Elohai, Shiru ki gadol Elohai, kol echad yireh ki gadol